All right, good morning, everybody. This is nice. You know what, I got to get out of staff this morning, so this is a thing of beauty for me. Not only getting to talk to a group of nice, smiling young faces, but also to kind of avoid our staff meetings. Not that I don't love them, but anyway. How long do I have to talk? Because I can talk forever. 30 minutes. All right, yeah, forever. All right, you guys are here to basically learn about leadership. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up pretty much in a neighborhood with all boys my age. There's 5 kids in my family, and I really had no idea that we were poor until I went to high school. I went to Chamberlain High School, and there were kids that, were driving Mercedes and those kind of things. And I actually got a car when I was 16, and mostly just because my mother and father were tired of driving me around, so they got me one of these cars that people would say, my friends and I'd go to a party and they'd be like, well, we didn't hear you drive up. And be like, no kidding, we parked in a different zip code. We had those cars that people would go, ma'am, your car's overheating. It's like, no, that's just my car. But anyway, that's the way that I grew up. But I learned leadership skills out there on the field. Growing up with a lot of boys in my neighborhood, I played sports. Our house was the one that everybody came to with a basketball court in the back and baseball field across from our house. So that's what I did. And I learned the things that are very important that serve me well as a leader. And those are the skills like teamwork, dedication. You have to be dedicated to be involved in athletics. And I'm talking about any type of a leadership. For me, it was athletics. For you, it could be a number of different things. But teamwork, dedication, a sense of responsibility, the ability to win and lose gracefully, although I can say that I never got that lose thing down pat, but nonetheless, those are things that are very, very important. Also, probably the most important skill for me was the ability to get along well with others. And I can tell you right now, never underestimate that ability. I am 50 years old, which is just flat out amazing to me that one day you wake up and you're 50 years old. And that's what will happen with you guys is one day you're going to wake up and it's going to be, where did all this time go? So what I'm going to talk to you about this morning are the things that hopefully you'll hear a few of the things that I say that may serve you well through your life. So those are the characteristics that I learned out there on the field to be a good leader, the things that served me well in our organization. Now, it's probably no newsflash to anybody that law enforcement is mostly a male-dominated profession. We're higher than the national average at the Tampa Police Department. National average is 12% women. We have close to 16%. Which puts us above, but still 16 out of 100%, isn't a lot of people. So quite often people will say, well, how were you able in a male-dominated world to rise up through? And there are a number of reasons. I worked in just about every aspect in the Tampa Police Department, but I have to go back to those skills, those leadership skills that I learned and that I'm true to this day. And above all the others is the ability to get along well with others. And so it has served me. And I can tell you that when I was promoted to or named as the chief of police by Mayor Pam Iorio, a lot of the media focused on the fact that I was the first female. And what I told everybody is that when I retire as a chief of police, I want to be remembered as a good chief, not as the first female. But having said that, the responsibility of being a woman in my position is not lost on me. I understand the significance of it, and I understand the responsibility of it. One, to be an example or to be a mentor for other women out there in the community, to let you guys know that you can be whatever you want to be. Those days of women aren't the chief of police or, certain minorities aren't allowed in certain fields, those days are over. The sky is the limit. You can do whatever you put your mind to, but you have to do it. It's up to you. It's not up to anybody else. Another reason that I think that it's very important, and I believe this, it's a Jane Castor theory here, that I represent all other women. if there is a male in my position as a chief of police and he does a horrible job and he fails, then they say, well, I told you Bob couldn't do it or Sam couldn't do it. If I fail, I represent all women. So I've basically failed for all the women that could have been in that position. So I take that responsibility very, very seriously. Now, as a leader in my position, and this is something that you guys hopefully will aspire to. It's not something that you will be, your first job out of the chute, you're going to be supervising 1,300 employees like I am. You're going to work your way up to that. But again, you can't lose sight of the fundamental skills and the fundamental values that get you to that position. And for me, it's first and foremost being honest. Everybody has to see me as being honest. Everybody has to see me as being fair. I have to be fair to everybody within my department and focus on the best needs of the organization. When I make speeches, and I make speeches throughout the community, when I talk to different groups, I tell them that I have to have a very strong grasp on my priorities. And for me, my priorities are the community, the organization, and then the officers. And a lot of people will say, well, that's not very fair. You're putting your officers number 3 on the list. Now, I don't want you to misinterpret what I'm saying, because my job, first and foremost, is to make sure that every one of my officers goes home safely at the end of their shift. That's what keeps me awake at night, is making sure that the officers are safe. But when you look in the big picture, the Tampa Police Department exists to serve the community. If there was no community, you wouldn't need a police department. So the organization exists to serve the community. So first and foremost, I have to look out for the needs of the community. Second, the organization has been around just about forever, since the early 1900s. Now, I'm chief of police right now, which may mean, a lot to a lot of different people. For me, sometimes I tell people that it means getting a great parking space, that you really can't take yourself too seriously in this position. I just did a bike ride. I do this police unity tour. It's a 250-mile bike ride that gets harder and harder every year the older you get. But it goes from Norfolk, Virginia to Washington, D.C., and it's police officers and survivors of officers who've been killed in the line of duty. And they, we all get together and ride into D.C., into the memorial, in recognition of those officers that have given their lives in the line of service. And it's just the most profound event that I've ever been involved in. When we meet in D.C., we meet up with 3 other groups that come from different areas, and there's over 1,000 police officers that ride into the National Memorial, and it's just an amazing event. But here's my point. As we stop on day 2, we stop at this small town in Virginia, and they have a sheriff there, and the sheriff comes in, and he comes in this year, and he goes, "Oh, Chief Castor, gosh, I'm just so honored to meet you. It's just great. You just have no idea how much it means to have you in this town, and we think it's great, and you're an inspiration to everybody." And I'm thinking, well, this is the 3rd year I've met you. I met you the last 2 years as the assistant chief, and maybe that wasn't important enough. So my point there is that you can never really get too full of yourself, because in the end, it's rarely about you. In the final analysis, it's rarely about you. And that's the truth in my position as well. I may be the chief of police right now, but my responsibility is to serve the community, to make sure that our organization is sound, and to ensure that our officers have a very safe working environment. They have the equipment they need, and they have the training they need to keep them safe out there on the street. So I have to have a very firm grasp of my priorities. And that is important throughout your life. And what you guys have right now, or should have, is a very solid foundation of values. And hopefully those came from your parents, they came from mentors, they came from other teachers, and they include the things that I just said. And that is being fair, being honest, being compassionate, being objective, and also knowing the difference between right and wrong. You guys are going to make decisions. You already have the positions that, the age you're at right now. You've made maybe not life-defining decisions, but you've made decisions. And I know it's difficult when you have peer pressure. You know, you've got people out there that are saying, oh, come on, you know, let's do this, smoke marijuana, let's do these drugs, let's drink alcohol and drive. Those things that you know are wrong, fundamentally wrong, and you know that. And quite often, which I find with my kids, I have 2 little boys that are 11 years old, and they're completely different, 180 degrees in personality. And the one boy's never wrong. You could catch him with a smoking gun in his hand, and by God, it's somebody else's fault, it's not his. And if he gets backed into a corner, then he goes, well, you know what my brother did the other day? Always making an excuse. And that he's going to be my project. But the idea is, I tell him, you have to own your decisions. You have to own your decisions. They're the decisions that you made. You know, you can justify, you can try to make excuses in your mind, and the more, here's what I will give you as a little bit of a barometer, the more you try to justify an action against what you've been taught your whole life, what's right, what's wrong, those solid core foundations that your parents give you, the more you try to justify decisions that don't go with those values, the more they're wrong. That just tells you, the more you have to talk to yourself to justify it, the more that decision is wrong. And you just can't make a mistake if you stick with those core values. And it's difficult to do. I can guarantee you that. It's very difficult to do. As a leader, what I tell other classes, what I tell all of the officers that get promoted in our department, I meet with all of them, and I tell them that anybody can be the good guy. Anybody. There's no strength in that position. Everybody can be everybody's buddy. It's in making the tough decisions for the right reasons that leaders are distinguished. And that's very important. And it's a difficult thing to do. I have been out on an island many, many times. And the way I look at that is I'm just the first to arrive. Sometimes I also talk to women who have been promoted. And I tell them there'll be every excuse in the book. You could have done the best on the promotional exam. You could have the highest level of education of all the candidates, but you got promoted because you're a female. And I tell all the officers, you don't say a word. Don't ever try to argue your position. Just go about proving them wrong every day through your actions. And sometimes that takes a while. And I'm not saying it's easy. I can guarantee you it's not easy. It is tough. But that's what makes a leader. If you just wanted to take the easy road every day, anybody can do that. Anybody can be the good guy. Again, true leaders are the ones that make the tough decisions for the right reasons. And sometimes you're a party of one because you're making that decision and everybody else is going in a different direction. And that can be exhibited right now for you guys in peer pressure and people trying to get you to do things that you just know are not right. So go back to those core values, the things that you know. In the Tampa Police Department, we have reduced crime dramatically. We changed the way that we do policing 7 years ago. And let me tell you, what I always tell groups is that it's human nature to be resistant to change, and cops got the corner on that resistance. Whew, man, I tell you, there is nothing like organizational change, trying to get people to do something out of their comfort zone. So it was difficult to get people to make changes and to do things differently. So, you know, whatever those, one of the things that we did in those changes is we simplified our mission statement. We were one of the organizations that had that mission statement that you guys may not be familiar, but if you go into any banks or anything like that, when you get ready to get on the elevator, they'll have a mission statement right there that's framed. And it's usually written by attorneys, and you know, you could put a gun to somebody's head and they'd be like, I have no idea what our mission statement is. So, and we were one of those organizations. We had that mission statement, and I was, you know, at the time I was a major. I had no idea what our mission statement, except somewhere in there was protect and serve, but it was, you know, some long legalese. So we simplified our mission statement, and it's to reduce crime and improve the quality of life through a cooperative partnership with the community. I say that mission statement at least 10 times a day, and it's 7 years old. I can tell you that my kids know the Tampa Police Department's mission statement. The cleaning crew at the police department knows the Tampa Police Department's mission. Everybody knows our mission statement. And that's why I tell officers is If some point during your shift, you're not sure if what you're doing is the right thing or the wrong thing, go back to that mission statement. If it somehow doesn't satisfy that mission statement, then you're not doing the right thing. So that's what I'm trying to get across to you guys. When you come to those tough decision points, all your friends want to do things a certain way that you know it's just not right, go back to those core values. Go back to those core values. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's not going to be easy. Those are tough decisions. And I can also say that you guys have it a lot worse than us old-timers do, because I can't say that in my 50 years I haven't made bad decisions, because I certainly have. But I got to outlive those decisions. Everything you guys do is on video. It's on Facebook. It's on, there's a picture of everything now. You go on YouTube. I mean, there's videos of everything. Those things weren't around when I was young. So the stupid things that I did, I just kind of outlived them. And you guys are in double trouble now because you make bad decisions, and those things could follow you the rest of your career. And you see how now employers are going on Facebook and they're looking at those things, and you know there's embarrassing pictures on there that people just can't live down. So it's doubly important for you guys. But another thing that I want to talk to you about as well is that you guys have one chance at life. You've got one chance, and trust me, I know now you think days go on forever and everything else. Trust me, it'll all go very, very quickly. So what you need to do is blaze your own path. Whatever you decide to do, it's up to you to accomplish that. Now, you've probably had a lot of help in your life, but the point I'm trying to make here is it's up to you to achieve whatever your goals are, whatever your personal goals are. And don't be someone who makes excuses. There's a difference between reason and excuse. And you have people that make those excuses. A good example is one of my boys. There's always an excuse for everything. This is why that happened. This is why you have to own your own decisions. And don't make excuses. I didn't get that job because, fill in the blank. You might not have gotten that job because you didn't try hard enough, or you didn't make yourself the most appealing candidate for that job. It's up to you. Don't make excuses. I didn't get on the honor roll because that one teacher didn't like me and they didn't give me a certain grade. You know what I'm saying. You know those excuse makers in life. And they're not going to get anywhere. And ultimately, they're not going to realize their goals. And really, how valuable are those excuses if you get to the point in your life where you weren't able to realize your goals or to attain what you wanted to attain? So don't make excuses for yourself. You may be too short. You may be too tall. There's many excuses out there, and none of them really hold any water. Even if they're valid, it doesn't matter. I've been discriminated against in a, close to 85% male environment. I've been at the meetings where I'll say, well, I think we should do A, B, and C, and everybody's like, okay. And then it goes around, and then there'll be a male counterpart, and they'll go, well, I think we need to do A, B, and C, and they'll go, oh my God, that's brilliant. And I'm thinking, well, I just said that. Have you guys ever seen the commercial where the guy, he does that, and then his boss says the same thing, and the guy goes, I just said that. And they go, yeah, but you didn't move your hand like this when you said it. So that's what I start doing. I'm moving my hand like that. But I can say that it really doesn't happen often to me, and it really hasn't happened. It's been a non-issue. People have tried to look at me as a trailblazer, and I'm anything but a trailblazer. There are many women that went before me at the Tampa Police Department, and the ones who are the trailblazers were the first ones that had such a hard time. And I just met the other day with some of the first African-American officers at the Tampa Police Department. And you want to talk about having a hard time. I mean, they weren't even allowed to dress in the roll call. I mean, in the locker room. And they weren't allowed to come into the roll call room. They had to put their uniforms on at their house, and then they had to wait outside. And then if they arrested somebody, if they arrested a white person, they had to wait outside, and a white officer came out and took them into the jail. Now, that's a long time ago, but those things happen. Those things don't happen in your lifetime, but there's still going to be discrimination. There's still going to be those kind of things. And you can use it as an excuse for why you couldn't achieve your goals, or you can just go about achieving your goals and not making excuses. because the excuses aren't going to serve you at all. All right. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is passion and money. And I know you guys, the big thing is you got to make money. You got to make money. Money makes you happy. Well, I'll tell you, money doesn't make you happy. But I always like that joke that says, money may not make you happy, but it sure is more comfortable to cry your eyes out in a Ferrari than a Yugo. So point taken. That could be true right there. But that's the truth. Find your passion in life. What makes you happy? I tell you, I am the luckiest person in the world for a number of reasons. But one is I found my passion in law enforcement, and basically found it by accident. I went to University of Tampa on an athletic scholarship. I was probably the most immature 17-year-old that was walking the earth when I was a freshman in college. I was actually 17 almost all the way through my freshman year of college because, as I said, there's 5 kids in my family, and, man, I was 4 out of 5, and my mom was like, get her to school quick. So I started school way before I was supposed to in first grade. So anyway, I went through 4 years of college, and I had aspirations of going into the federal service, into Secret Service or FBI. And at the time, Ronald Reagan, who some of you may not even heard of, was the President of the United States. And he put a federal freeze on hiring. So I had a couple friends said, hey, you ought to come to the Tampa Police Department. It's great. I, for the most part, went in with my eyes wide open. I really had no idea what to expect. And I can say, in my 26 years at the Tampa Police Department, there's never been one day that I didn't want to come to work. It is just, and law enforcement isn't for everybody, that's for sure, but it's my passion. I love what I do every day. Now, I think law enforcement's a little different from other, well, I know it's different from other professions, but the problem is the further up you go in law enforcement, the further away you get from police work, which is really what you want to do is be out there on the street doing what we do every day. So I can't say that my job is as exciting in this position as it was out on the street, but I still enjoy it. 26 years, and that's my passion. You've got to find what makes you happy, because the money's not going to make you happy. We have people that are in our reserve force that have jobs that they've kind of gotten themselves into a position where they have to continue to work to bring in that salary, but they don't have any passion for their job. So on the weekend and at nights, they come out and they ride with us as police officers. They go through all the training on their own, and they come out because they love being police officers, but they've got other jobs that they make more money in. So you've got to find that. And don't make that mistake. Don't make a mistake of doing what somebody else wants you to do, following the family tradition, whatever it is. Again, find your passion, your goal, and then you go out there and achieve that. And sometimes people make it way too far in life before they realize that money doesn't make them happy. And then the last thing that I want to talk to you guys about is giving back. Now, you guys are all sitting here in this room for a reason, because somebody's taken an interest in you. And this is one of the things I try to go to as many as the school resource officer meetings as I can, because I think that is such an important function. It is such an important function for a number of reasons. One, to portray law enforcement in a very positive atmosphere. In some areas, law enforcement is not very positively viewed, and law enforcement comes in to take somebody's, relatives to jail or to break up fights or those kind of things. So police officers are in the schools to provide that positive image of law enforcement. They're in the schools to also teach the kids, but also what I tell every time I talk to them, and they're probably all sick of hearing it, is never lose sight of the impact that you have on those kids' lives. Because when you talk about, I think that our community or society in general defines heroes these days. And the definition of heroes is usually defined somehow, in some way, shape, or form, by money, by beauty, or by talent. And if you ask anybody, who were the true heroes in your life, most people will say their parents, or a mentor, a teacher, somebody who had an impact on their life. And that's what I say to the school resource officers, is never lose sight of that impact that you can have on a child's life. And I get letters as a chief from parents saying that, my son was in trouble all the time, really had no direction in life until officer such and such got involved in their life. And now he loves school, he's behaving, he's doing what he needs to do. So that is very, very important. And that's why you guys are all sitting here today, because somebody took an interest in you. So when you stick to your values, your core values, you have those goals in mind, you work hard to achieve those. Once you've arrived, never ever forget to reach back and help somebody else. And you can do it in any way. You can do it in any way. If dealing with young kids isn't your thing, then you can make your community better. There's a lot of people that just like to sit back and complain about things. They never want to fix them. And that's what I tell all my officers too. I got no issue whatsoever with criticism. I just want it to be informed criticism, and I also want solutions. Come to me with a solution. Just don't say, this policy stinks. What's your idea of what would be better? So you can make the community better, or you can help kids, which is my passion. I think that that's very, very important. I think that there are a small percentage of kids that are troublemakers, and they're going to be trouble no matter what. And there's a small percentage of kids that no matter what the influence in their life, they're going to excel and they're going to be successful in life. And then you got all those kids in between that need some direction, that need some guidance. And that probably describes the majority of you guys in this room. So you're getting that assistance, you're getting people to help you. Don't ever forget to give that back. And you can do it now. You don't have to wait. I mean, there's a million things out there to do. It's one of the things I love about school these days is, compared to the days that I had to walk to school in the snow. My boys came home the other day and they had to pick, they're going into 6th grade and they had to pick electives. So my son starts to school me on what electives mean. I go, I went to school. Well, Mom, it's all different now. So, he had to tell me how it was all different. But really it is different. You guys do have a lot more, I think, a lot more pressure on you than we did as kids. But I like the fact that you have to do community service in high school and those kind of things. I think that's very important, and that's something that I try to get my kids involved in a number of different aspects, is to be out there and be involved and be engaged in making things better. Okay, now the last thing, again, what I said before is, jokingly, that one of the best things about being the police chief is a good parking space. But that is the truth. You've got to believe. I had a coach when I was in high school that said, always know that you're the best at what you do. Practice to be the best. Work as hard as you can to be the best. But never tell anybody that. Let them all figure it out for themselves. And in essence, what they're saying is, don't get too full of yourself. And that is very important. You don't need to go around, banging your own drum and telling everybody how wonderful you are, because people will see it. People will see the value in you. And I'm very lucky in my position that, you could get a little full of yourself, because people think that, and it is. It's an honor for me. It's the greatest honor of my life to be the chief of police for the Tampa Police Department, because I think it's the finest police department in the nation. So it's quite an honor for me. But I'm lucky because I have what I call my two little levelizers. And my boys are just, they'll keep me grounded no matter what. I had somebody asked me if they could auction me off for a day with a chief, if they could auction me off at a middle school. And I said, sure, no problem. So my one little boy, Seeley, the little excuse maker, he said, boy, and he's going to be an investigator too. Somebody will call me to give me updates on something. Like a homicide occurs or something like that. I'll get off the phone and, I'll ask what I think are the important questions. He goes, well, Mom, what time did they get there? How many suspects were there? What color was the car? I'm like, well, next time I'll just have them call you, okay, bud? Don't let me get in the middle of any of this. So anyway, he says, Mom, how much did you sell for? And I said, I don't know. Why don't you call and find out? So he calls and he hangs up the phone. He goes, wow, Mom. He goes, you sold for $65 to a 12-year-old girl. And I said, well, that's great. I said, that'll raise money for their school. And he goes, well, what are you going to do, take her shopping? I said, hello, it's a day with the chief. I said, she's coming to work with me. So he thinks about that for a minute, and he goes, wow. He goes, what a ripoff. He goes, man, he says, you wait till she finds out she paid $65 for that. He said, she is going to be so disappointed. I'm like, he goes, well, what are you going to do? And I go, well, I don't know. I said, I guess I'll take her to some meetings. He goes, ooh, that'll make it all better. I'm like, well, this is just great. So finally I had to tell him, I'm going to take her up in the helicopter. How about that, buddy? So that kind of shut him up. Well, how come I can't go in the helicopter? Because you didn't buy a day with the chief. That's why. But anyway, I'm very lucky in that, is that they, and also I think that kids make you a much better person, because you do find out, and this will help you guys as well, you do find out that people are born with a personality. My boys were adopted from the Ukraine when they were 19 and 21 months, and I can say that I thought as a parent I was going to mold them into these little individuals, and you find out that they come pre-wired with certain personalities, which is very helpful in my position, because you understand why people view things in different ways, and everybody doesn't see it the same because they come with different personalities. Some people are easygoing, some people are stubborn, some people are smart, some people have common sense. Everybody's different. That's one of the things that makes this world so wonderful. So that is important. And the last thing I will leave you with is that one of the things I love about America is that it is a free country, and you are free to choose to do anything that you want. But with those choices, you have to accept the consequences of your actions. And that's what I tell young kids that may have the propensity to make the bad decisions in their life. If you make those bad decisions, you have to accept those consequences. But what you guys are so fortunate in is that in this day and age, the sky is the limit. You can do whatever you want, wherever you want in this wonderful country. So it's up to you. But I do, one more time, encourage you to do what makes you happy, to do what you're passionate about. And that doesn't mean you're going to find it the first job out of the chute. I know we have people at the police department, more than one, that went to law school, and they have their Juris Doctorate, and they were out practicing as attorneys, and there was no passion in it for them, so they came to the police department because that's what they love. So make sure you do what you love. All right? And with that, I thank every one of you, and you've got a great opportunity here. Make the most of it. All right? Thank you, guys.